The tragedy of the tuk-tuk driver who fled COVID. Rajan Yadav heard Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi announce a nationwide lockdown on 24th of March to halt the spread of COVID-19. Little did he know that his life was about to change forever. He was in India's financial capital, Mumbai, where thousands arrive every day from all parts of the country to realize their dreams. Rajan came to Mumbai more than a decade ago with his wife, Sanju. He worked in factories while she took care of their 11-year-old son, Nitin, and 6-year-old daughter, Nandini. The vehicle for hire brought more money for the couple and they were able to put their children in an English medium school, which many Indian parents consider necessary for a bright future. But just 2 years later, Rajan was staring at the same auto with his wife and daughter's bodies lying next to it. The family had used up most of its savings to pay rent, repay the loan and buy groceries in March and April. Out of money and options, they decided to go back to their village in Jaunpur district in Uttar Pradesh state. Rajan's is not an isolated story. Dozens of migrant workers died while trying to flee the very cities they had helped build and run during India's unprecedented and grinding lockdown. Migrant workers had little choice after the restrictions cut off their income and ate into their savings. In the absence of transport, men, women and children were forced to begin arduous journeys back to their villages, walking, cycling or hitching rides on tuk-tuks, lorries, water tankers and even milk vans. While doctors were fighting against COVID-19 inside hospitals, another battle for survival was being fought on the streets and highways of India. Images of families, some with toddlers and pregnant women in tow, trying to flee cities are hard to forget. Rajan's decision to leave Mumbai was also rooted in his fears that his family might go hungry. He remembers that his wife had told the children that they were taking a road trip. He would then rest during the day, and at 1800 hours the family would be back on the road until 2300 hours. It was a hard journey, but the prospect of being in the safety of their village kept the family going. "I kept thinking that all this was a bad dream," he recalls, adding that his son would often jolt him back to reality. Nitin would not stop asking for his sister and mother, but Rajan had no answers. He couldn't tell his son that the life they had built for themselves in Mumbai no longer existed. Rajan started spending his days in the fields. Sometimes he would help his brothers, but he mostly sat under a tree staring at the sky. It made Rajan remember the promise he had made to Sanju that their children's education would always come first. He started thinking about his son's future, but returning to Mumbai was still not on his mind. The tuk-tuk, the family's main source of income, was badly damaged, and he didn't have enough money to get it repaired. Then his parents advised him to sell Sanju's jewelry to arrange funds. But Rajan knew that Sanju would want him to do everything possible to give Nitin a good education. After struggling for weeks, he decided to leave the village in early November with Nitin. He realized during the journey that Nitin was showing maturity beyond his years. He started spending most of the day locked up in the room, partly out of grief but also because coronavirus was still ravaging the city and he didn't want to take a chance. But the money he had saved soon started to run out, and he had to get back on the road with his tuk-tuk. That's a choice millions of daily wage workers have to make every day in India. Staying at home is a luxury that most migrant workers cannot afford. The first few days after he got back on the road were tough, as not many people were willing to take public transport and his income was meager. But now Rajan wakes up around 6 a.m. to cook for himself and Nitin, and then he helps his son with homework before his online classes start at 9 a.m.